Welcome to a Squared Conversation, where I'll be having discussions with impactors and community drivers in the Philadelphia running and fitness scene who inspire all of us to show up for our community authentically. I'm your host, Aaron Nixon. Join me and a special guest each episode as we dive into the who we are, why we show up every day for those around us, unpacking beyond the surface conversation by welcoming vulnerability, love, and grace. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of A Squared Conversation. I'm your host, Aaron Nixon, and today we are joined by a very dear friend of mine. She is a full-time therapist. She is also a soon-to-be psycho instructor and also a motivational content creator. Welcome, please, my friend, Jannelle Sanchez.
Thank you.
Hey Jannelle, welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to
I'm
be here.
so excited to have you on the pod. Very surreal. This is very real. I was looking at our conversation thread on Instagram, right? And I saw the very first message that we kind of like, exchanged with each other. And it was from December 14th, 2022, I think.
Yep,
Was it
that makes sense.
2022?
Yep.
Yeah. And
hmm
you had commented on something that I was doing, I guess, in the running. Like I think I had probably like finished a race or something.
hmm
And you were like, oh, wow, you inspired me. And I was like, wow, like this is so full circle because we were communicating for about like a year after that, like all of 2023,
hmm
and we didn't even officially start hanging out until 2024 at the
Yes.
Philadelphia distance run.
You know what's so crazy? Oh, that's right, because we didn't even plan to be there together.
We did not, yeah, at
And
all.
I remember looking at your stuff and thinking, this guy's so cool. He's so cool. And I was training for the half marathon because I had just moved to Philly.
Yeah,
And when we were like interacting on socials, and I was
yeah.
like, he thinks I'm cool too. He thinks I'm cool too. I was so excited.
Because you are cool. Yeah, I remember looking at your
It's so
content. I was
funny.
like, wow. And I remember messaging you because you came into the Starbucks on
Yes,
City Ave because I was there. I think I was getting like cookies and the double smoked bacon, cheddar and egg. And I
Amen.
remember I was
Amen.
like, wait, this looks like the girl that follows me, but also I just want to make sure. So I
hmm
like let you purchase your items and then you left and I DM'd you. And I was like, hey,
Yes.
were you just inside of the Starbucks? And you're like, yeah, that was me. You said you should have said hi. And I was like, I know, I was just so nervous.
Oh
You
my
look
gosh,
in
that's
the
cool.
zone.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I think I have RBF sometimes.
You don't. I
Okay,
don't think
thank
so.
you. Thank
No.
you. I'm trying to, get into that softy.
Yeah. But then also like seeing kind of like you're running. Wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but have you done any races yet?
Yeah, the half marathon, so December,
Yeah.
that's when I reached out. March, I did the half marathon, the love
Okay.
run.
Okay.
Um,
Amazing. Congrats. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. That was so awesome. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Like
What was your like
this much.
training leading up to that?
So
Like,
I used the Peloton app for training for a full marathon.
hmm.
So I just used that, and I took like, I think it was like 5 months to train. So I
Okay.
was just like running a lot. I was super motivated because I was moving from Lancaster to Philly, and I was like all these new things. But I just like woke up one day and was like, I want to run a half marathon.
Yeah.
And I just like stuck to it, and I did it every day.
Yeah.
And so I just used their app, and it was amazing. It got me through it.
They said
hmm
that's usually how it goes, right? Like you wake up one day and just want to start running. I remember for
Yes.
me, it was kind of like I just need to change. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, like Aaron, you're actually seeing the results, like, but not necessarily the good ones. So it's
hmm
time for you to get up and like, just start running.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's how you started running. Like
Yeah,
that's what.
yeah.
Oh
It was also
wow.
like a way for me to stay physically fit, but also like
Yeah.
mentally fit as well. It was, yeah, like me, my
Yeah.
trajectory with running, it was very much like sudden almost because it was
Mhm.
kind of like you have to make a change. Like, what is going to
Mm.
happen? You are eating a lot. And also,
Yeah.
like, I remember going to my doctor at the time. He was like, hey, for someone who is 16 years old, like, you
Yeah.
need to start losing a little bit of weight. And I was kind of like, okay, like, I don't
Oh
like lifting.
wow.
Like, I don't have a gym. Like, what can I
Right.
do? And I'm not sure if I ever shared this with you, but like I remember
Mhm.
seeing someone running along the Roosevelt Boulevard, and
Yeah.
he just had so much joy, like running,
Yes.
and he said hi to me. He was like, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning." And I was like, "Oh wow, like I want what he's having."
That's
And
crazy.
then from there, I remember going home to my mom and was just like, "Hey, mom, like I want to start running. Take me to Modell's and get a pair of running shoes." Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
beautiful.
that's
See,
how I
that means
started
so
running.
much because we always see people running, and just that, I'm sure that guy
Mhm.
would never even think
I
that he
know.
just
Yeah,
birthed this like amazing runner.
I know. Sometimes I think like, where's that guy today? You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Oh my God, that's so
I know,
beautiful.
but how did you feel crossing the finish line?
Oh, it was emotional. I got
Yeah.
so emotional because like I decided to run a half marathon one day, but
Mhm.
like I was running before that. I just never thought to run a half marathon. But what got me into running was I was just going through a lot of family shit,
Yeah.
and the only way I could like focus, and I like coming from the self care social worky
Hmm.
background, I always tried to take care of myself. Like whatever, like, all the self-care things.
Yeah, of course.
But running was the only thing that calmed my mind. And I
Yeah.
felt like I could escape my life,
Yeah.
and like I can be somewhere else, but then my body was like this other place,
Yeah.
So when I crossed that finish line, it just, I'm sure you've run so many races, the different parts of the race where it's like a warm up. It's like, it's okay, this is fun.
Yeah.
But then it hits like mile 8 or 7,
Mhm.
at 7 or 8. And I was like about to cry because my only goal was to not walk.
Yeah.
And I thought I had to start walking, but then I like pushed through, whatever. But it was so emotional because it just feels like life. Like running just reminds you of life. You have hard moments, but then you have these moments that feel like you're on a high. And then
Yeah.
when you're starting new things, it just feels like, okay, we're just getting warmed up, So it was just super emotional because I just felt like it just reflected life so much.
Yeah. And I'm very, very proud of you because that
you.
is such a pivotal moment in someone's life, just in general, especially when
Right.
it comes to someone who is just starting out with running.
Mhm.
And to do a half marathon, like that's like more power and kudos to you. Like
Thank
100%, boo.
Yes.
And I know that feeling because like sometimes my body will even hit a wall. Like
Yes.
my sweet spot distance is a 10K, right?
Mhm.
I do enjoy doing a half marathon, but
Mhm.
sometimes like getting past that 11 mile is just like, oh man, like I can feel it in my back.
Yeah.
And I will say running really teaches you like how you can push yourself beyond your limits
Yes.
and kind of like not listen to that little voice in the back of your head telling you like, hey, you cannot do this. Like just
Yes.
go.
Movement, period.
Moving period. Yeah.
And that's why I
100%.
feel like I'm so like passionate about people, my friends, everyone, like, get moving.
Yeah.
Because when you get moving, your body will tell you that you can do more than what your mind thinks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I agree 100%.
Yeah. Movement, any form of movement is just so therapeutic.
Right.
And going back to kind of like me with my first time running, and kind of like my trajectory with running, it was a way for me to connect with nature. It was a way for me to just kind of like connect with myself again, realize like who I actually am, and I don't know, like the creative juices really start flowing. Like I love writing, so sometimes like along my runs, I would be creating like a character in my head, like a storyline. Listening to the music, I'm like, oh, I can envision this song with this particular scene.
Yes.
So yeah, like I can just imagine what it was like for you running and crossing that finish line and getting that medal, and also just seeing all of your hard work pay off.
Exactly.
The training, everything.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, for so many things in life, naturally, we look for validation. Naturally. I know a lot of people are like, don't look for validation. Yeah, to a certain extent, but naturally, if you want to have healthy relationships,
oh, absolutely,
naturally that happens.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like having that self-validation with movement, and especially when you have a goal or like a race, like, you just feel like, wow, like when I started, I couldn't run 2 miles straight. I was like, I don't think this run. We're not doing this,
Yeah, 100%.
But to think, that's why I always tell my friend, like, you should, let's run together. And they're like, I can't even run, but like, that's what you can do today. But tomorrow, it's a different story.
Totally different
and
story.
It's just, like you said, it's like with life in general. It's just like, it's always, when you do the work, it's always a different story.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like you get to prove it to yourself when you set that self-validation. Because I feel like sometimes, we live in a time where like so many things are to prove that we can do it to others.
Yes.
But when you actually prove it to yourself, it's like, okay, I'm setting the bar for myself because I saw myself cross that finish line. I know the work that it took for me to get here. Whether it's racing, whether you're trying to achieve a certain goal in your own life or just, this aspiration or whatever it may be, this dream. Seeing yourself get there just proves to yourself that you can do it, which is why running, I find that it is just, I don't know, it's been so important in like my overall healing journey as a person. Because when I get out there and run, I just think, okay, if I can get to this pole, I can go to the next pole.
Yes.
If I get to like that next crack in the ground, I can get to the next crack in the ground and I'm good to go.
Yes.
It's really something that is so special, and it's really liberating.
It is. And keeping your promise to yourself, like you said, like self-validation, all that, you build self-esteem.
Yeah,
that's how we build self-esteem.
Yeah,
because we're able to say, oh my gosh, like I said I was going to do this and I'm doing it, and now my value goes up, to myself.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
I love that. Okay, well, speaking of just kind of like that self-validation, improving something to yourself, I kind of want to talk a little bit about your experience last year on Fox 29 with Mike Jarek and Alex Holly, where they talked about your gap year. And for the listeners and the viewers, I kind of want you to just explain what a gap year is.
Yeah. So gap year is anything you do, time that you take to explore yourself, explore the world. Like you could take a break within your career and do that. And so for me, I took time I did social work, and I worked in many homeless shelters, with survivors of sex trafficking. It's just so much. Social work is so broad, but I did that, and I just got to a point, and like I mentioned before, like when I started running, I was just going through a lot of family shit, and it's so funny, right? Because I'm like, let's not bring up family shit. But it's like, I can't tell my story without bringing up family shit, you know?
Yeah.
So it's so funny, right?
Right. It's like, it plays a huge role into that.
It does. And so, and when I say that, is, people go through things. And I think the way you journey through your life, based on some of those hard things, it kind of guides you. And so for me, it guided me, and I was like, you know what, I need a break from this social work thing because I need to deal with my own stuff. But in that time, I also said, you know what, like I have these other gifts and things, I want to use it. And I got into like marketing and all that good stuff. So I just took time off to just like reflect and like, what do I want to do? I ended up moving to Philly, I came out here and I was like, I like this place,
Yeah, of course. Philly has some really great spots. It's a gem.
I was like, oh, I like the food over here. I'm going to eat and run some more. I have to. So, but yeah, it was just a time for me to reflect. Now, it was like, I mean, as you get older, you always have this like internal clock, even if people tell you to ignore it. I mean, as a woman, your body, you could be like, no, I'm not going to follow the social structures, which is great. But at the same time, depending what you want, there is an internal clock, or like when it comes to career, all these pressures. But I'm just kind of like, it really helped me get into a place where I'm just like, listen, what's for me is for me. And I'm not going to it's not going to pass me by. So then I got into marketing a little bit. Yeah. And I did a whole lot of things, actually. I'm like, who am I?
I'm listening. I'm like, wow, you're a jack of all trades.
And I actually hated that. I'm like, I hate when people say that. I want to be so focused. But the truth is this, I've always had this like internal like thing within me that I just really like cared about people. I was so fascinated by minds and like how experiences shape us, and just like like healing and all that good stuff, just because of my own family dynamics and my own like journey. And so I feel like now, even talking to you, I'm like, this is crazy. I've been on career pivot podcasts. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, they all sound so different, because now I'm like full circle back into my field. Yeah. But I'm also very healed now. And I also feel like I'm very like, that's how I feel.
Like very zen. Yeah. And to your point about like everything just sounds so different each time you kind of like have a conversation about that time in your life. It's because, like you said, you're doing the work to heal, and so you're unlocking different versions and parts of yourself where you're like, now I have the tools and resources and actually like the verbiage to be able to communicate how I was feeling at that time. So that's what, and I totally resonate with that 100%. I love that. Getting to kind of like pivoting and taking that gap year, right? Like, what was your mindset like? What did you kind of like, what did that look like for you? Like, did you plan to do a full year, or did you have like a short amount of time where you're kind of like, hey, I think I just want like 3 months or 6 months, right? Like, was a year the original plan?
No. So I didn't do like a full year. Okay. I didn't do the full year. But I did take some time. But as far as planning, honestly, my biggest thing with planning, it was more like talk to people that you love, because those are going to be your biggest supporters. Yeah. Absolutely. And for some people, they're going to be the biggest people who are like, do not do that. Yeah. You know? But at that point, it's like you have to know yourself enough to be like, I know this is right for me. No one can do that for you but you. That's why the self-validation, that's why keeping our promises to ourselves is important, because we build that trust with ourselves, Yeah. But I felt like the need to tell the people who I love, because, they supported me in some ways, whether it's emotional or even financially sometimes, at some point. When it comes to finances, like being prepared for that. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't think I was as prepared as I should have been.
And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you, like, how did you prepare for that,
I was like, I didn't remember this retirement now. No, because somebody just can't take it, know? Yeah. But no, I had some money, Yeah. I paid my bills. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't out here living the lavish. I wasn't going to the spa every week. Of course. But also, like, I also explored different ways of being creative and made money. Yeah. I started a whole social media business. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that was popping. Like, I was making money. I was like, oh, 3,000, you want to pay me 3,000? Hell yeah. You know?
You're totally popping, because I follow you on social media, so I'm seeing the content. It's popping. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of how, like, I just kind of, I'll be honest with you, it was a lot of like faith and trust. Yeah. Within myself. Yeah. Within God. I was like, listen. Exactly. But it was also, just saving up to make sure you can pay your bills. So. Yeah.
What would you say is something that really stuck with you during that transition?
During that transition, it's so funny you're asking me this. I was just talking to my girlfriend about this. I really believe that if you are constantly looking to better yourself and looking to find your purpose, it's looking for you too.
Yeah.
So even when you feel like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do next? Oh my gosh, I don't have money. Oh my gosh, I didn't calculate this right. Or even moving to Philly, I was like, yo, shorty, I just moved to Philly.
Yeah.
You know? It's always going to work when you're looking to better yourself. It just is. I feel like it's the law of attraction, you know?
Yeah.
So that again, it gave me more confidence.
Yeah.
There's just not, I'm like, this is maybe why I was like so curious. And I've always been curious since I was a little girl, but like as an adult being curious when it comes to like career and stuff like that, I was okay with that. I was comfortable within my skin because I always knew it was going to work out because I am looking to better myself.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, I'm looking to be the fullest Jannelle. I'm looking to like serve the world with my whole personality. And if I'm focused on that and focused on bettering the people around me and being a light, not that I'm sitting here like, how can I be a light? You're just, when you pour into yourself, you automatically become that light.
Yeah.
Because if you're healed, you're not out here hurting other people, you know?
100%.
So I just felt like that time really showed me like, girl, you're good. You got this. It's all right. Even when you think you don't got it, you got it.
Yeah.
You know? So there's just not, I just don't think, I'm like, even if something like horrible happens now, I'm just like, there's a reason for this, you know, there's always another side to this. Always.
Yeah. And I love, it sounds like, you know, during that time, you just had like the open-mindedness and the curiosity, just kind of like explore who you were at that time. And I love when you said kind of like, you know, the power of manifestation, right? Like the law of attraction. It's like, the universe is always conspiring with you to like elevate you to your highest good. So it's like if you're putting out that good energy and you're like, hey, like, this is what I want to do during my time off, right? I want to have that self-exploration. I want to figure out what works for me, whether that's social media, whether that's like, you know, being like a psycho instructor. It's just you putting yourself in those shoes and already kind of like doing the actions almost, where it's kind of like, this is what I want to do. So let me start kind of living the life of someone who actually is already in that place.
Yeah.
The universe is going to just continue to supply you all the things that you need to be that person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's always with context too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm never like telling someone who's like, you know, I never want to just have someone like just get up and just quit everything and move.
Yeah.
You know, unless it's something that they've really been yearning and like they, you know, it just takes a level of like, of self-awareness, you know, to be able to do that. Because I always say like with contacts, you don't want all these people just quitting the jobs, you know. You know, but you know, and it was so, again, I just feel like what's for me won't pass me by, you know. And I know during the time, like I went through some, again, like just hard stuff, hard shit, you know. And it's like so cool to look back and be like, dang, like I needed that time.
Yeah.
You know, I needed that time. Or dang, like I really explored and was able to hone into my gifts to make some damn money. I needed that, you know? And now it's like full circle. Could I've always gone back to social work to do that and made decent money? Yeah. But I didn't want to at that. I was just like, I'm not at the place where I want to do that right now, you know? And now full circle, I'm like, feeling so good about so many areas of my life. Feel like it's so holistic and it's really the core of who I am. And it's like, I feel like now it's like, ding, ding, ding. Of course you're a therapist. Like this makes so much sense. Like, yeah, you went to school for it, but it's like, it's just whole full circle. It's a full circle moment where it's like, okay, you got all the tools, you're molded and shaped into who you have to be for this moment. And you always are when you're willing to like be open to whatever you believe God, the universe has for you, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love the point where you said like just living in your purpose, you know, like, how do you think, and it's interesting because, you know, you have to go through kind of like that self-realization thing and take a step back to realize, okay, like this is actually what I want to do. How did you just kind of like allow yourself to just like be into your purpose, right? Was there the thought process or like that voice in the back of your head kind of like, okay, like, can I actually do this? Can I actually like, you know, be a therapist?
You know, it's funny when it comes to like purpose, right? Because again, something I be talking about all this stuff. We be all talking, you know, we be talking, it's always like this.
All the time,
it's woo-woo over here, you know? But,
shed a tear.
Right. All the time. And it's like, it's so interesting because when it comes to purpose, you know how for other people, they could look at you and it's so obvious.
Yeah.
But for yourself, you're like, I don't know. I just don't know. But you could look at, you know, I could look at you and be like, wow, you're gifted in X, Y, Z, you know? It makes sense.
Yeah.
And it always made sense.
Yeah.
But until you feel like it makes sense, you know, just.
Yeah.
And for me, I always think like my biggest thing, I always tell everyone this, is like, purpose is all about, like, for me, leaning into the things that give you energy, right? That's where we find purpose, I think, because that's where we find our sustainability. That's where we find our energy, like, and I just always, first of all, I'm a chatty Cathy.
Yeah.
Always been a chatty Cathy. Okay. My mom said, not even just my mom, but I found these letters from my teacher when I was like in first grade. And it was like, Jannelle's very chatty. You know, like I had to remind Jannelle to raise her hand. It's not her turn, you know? And I was just like, oh, damn. Still. Okay. Thank you, God. Okay.
Oh, sidebar. I just love our conversation because even when we send like the voice notes through like iMessage, or like the first time we hung together, I was like, wow, there was never like a silent moment. And sometimes I'm like, I enjoy silent moment, but I was like, I actually don't want a silent moment with you.
Yeah.
Like, because everything that is coming out of your mouth is just like, I am so intrigued by it, you know, and you have such good insight. Yeah.
Thank
I love
you.
it. Yeah. So keep on chatting.
Thank you.
Please.
I'm keep on talking.
Yeah. Keep on talking.
A talker's gonna talk. No, but yeah, I just remember telling my friend that, and that's kind of part of like the whole self-care thing too, is leaning into things that give you energy. Like the movement was big for me. Like getting my Peloton. Let me not get into that, but getting that.
Yeah. No, talk about the Peloton. Yes, please.
I'm in love with Peloton. Let's just say that. I'm gonna just say that.
I know. Does she want to give us especially someone a shout out from Peloton? Recycle?
I don't think it deserves it anymore. No, but like the movement, even getting the confidence, like move and like decide to pop, all of that comes with self-care.
Yeah.
Again, because you're taking care of yourself, all that good stuff. So when it comes to purpose, for me, it just felt like, what is the thing that you do the easiest? And how can you serve the world with that?
Yeah.
And for me, it was like so obvious. Girl, you were a chatty Cathy. You love talking to people, but not just that, but you also have been through a lot of things to be able to bring it back full circle. You taking care of yourself, but not just that, because a lot of people go through a lot of things. We're in this world. It's a human experience. You have the education and the training to know how to deal with certain things. So I was like, girl, everything you already have.
Yeah.
You literally have everything you need for the moment, you know? So for me, purpose, and again, this is why I say now, like maybe a year ago, I probably wouldn't have felt like this. But right now, I just feel like so like, dang, this is how can I say it? I feel like I was where I should be, but I don't feel as like I've arrived now where I'm going to be settled for some time. That's how I feel. I feel like I told you, my little soft girl era.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that soft girl era.
So yeah. So I just think purpose comes with just like leaning in to what are your gifting? What's your gifting? What are the things you're able to tolerate that don't bother you? You know, that it's like, okay, this is part of life. We're all going to deal with things we don't want to deal with. Yeah. But it shouldn't be 90% of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then like just trusting. I just think that's the biggest thing. For me, my faith is, I mean, I told you I grew up in church. I grew up in you know, with faith. And I feel like that for me, that's an anchor for me. Yeah. And it's just something that always was like, yo, like whenever, you know, every day I get a chance to live my life and be happy and be at peace, I thank God, you know, because I know there's so many people who are not. And I know there's been times when I have not been in a place of peace. So for me, it just is very personal and like, that's my thing. But I think that's why it's also important to have something to believe in. Yeah. You know, resilience, the people who are considered resilient, the things that are common, like what's common is that they have a hope. So whether it's like, I have hope for the future because I have kids that I want to, you know, protect or, you know, provide for, or I believe in God or believe in you, or whatever that is, hope is like the main ingredient, you know? Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of, I guess it's part of the whole thing when it comes to purpose too, is just knowing.
It gives you something to strive for, you know? Exactly. Because you know at the end of the day, like, okay, this is my purpose. This is my destination. You know, I remember like when we first hung out after the Philadelphia distance run and we went to the Union game, and we were just talking about kind of like just enjoying and trusting the journey, you know, but also knowing your destination, you know, and being okay to kind of like make mistakes. Like you only come out stronger on the other end. When you do something like how you did, when you pivot and you take that change, you know, you're kind of like, okay, like I'm going to move to Philly. I just want to see what that's like, you know, I'm going to start my own social media business. Like you can only find your purpose and your passion once you do those things, because it's all trial and error. And
it takes time to like be comfortable with that, because don't get me wrong, like it's not like every moment I was like, this is so great. Yeah. No, like I was just like, girl, you look a hot mess out here. Yeah. Jumping around. You know, like, dang. First generation girl, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, and even made me insecure with my dating. Because I'm sitting here like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but I kind of don't know really what I want to do at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to exploring. I'm just, exploring.
Yeah.
But at this now looking back, I'm just like, yo, that was so fun. And it's not about just being fun, but it's like you grow and like, and I forgot who I heard say this, but it's like, I heard someone say like, I don't get embarrassed anymore. I just don't, because we're all people.
Yeah.
And no one is perfect.
Yeah.
And once you're able to embody that and like believe that, it's like, it changes the game.
Yeah.
It changes the game. Because now it's like, this is what I'm doing. Like I'm just trying things out. I'm learning. Some people stay in the same job for their whole life and they never change, or they stay in the same relationship that they're not happy in for their whole life. It gave me an opportunity to just continue to get to know myself. I mean, we only get one life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, maybe the next life I'll be a butterfly. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we get one of these right now. I'm here for today. So I want to be curious. Now, do I want like some stability that comes with that? Absolutely. And
this is very natural. We all with the stability piece.
Exactly. Yeah. And so yeah.
I'm curious because we live in a time where we are bombarded with so much content on a daily. Like you have like TikTok, you have like Instagram, right? And then you can just go to YouTube and everyone's popping out and they're a content creator. And if like you aren't checking these boxes off by like certain ages, it's kind of like, okay, like what are you doing with your life? So how do you deal with kind of making sure that you are still confident in yourself while like tuning out the noise from like what we see on social media, where honestly most of it is just kind of like a highlight reel?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I hate to say this because I feel like it sounds so like, oh, of course you're gonna say that, but it's true. I don't care.
Yeah.
You have to know that like your life is yours, and it's not like comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
I
minute I decide to compare myself is a minute that I am just setting myself up for failure.
Yeah.
And I have to take my own medicine with what I tell my clients and even friends and people around me. It's like there is only one Jannelle, and I've tried. I've tried when I was younger, like to do things like other people that I admire, and it just didn't work because I'm not them and they're not me.
Yeah.
And we don't have the same story.
Yeah.
And our stories shape us. You know what I'm saying? And what I do, I fall into that, if I'm being very honest with you, I fall into that when it comes to you're gonna be 34. You haven't been in a relationship in I don't know how many years now, like when are you gonna get serious? Like when you're gonna, and your clock is ticking, you have PCOS, like that affects that. But I always come back to, it's funny. I tell my clients, like, when they're telling me their fears, I said, okay, what's going to happen if that did happen? Then what? What happens if you never, like, meet a partner that you want to be with and get married? Then what? The then what doesn't seem so bad once I acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So I feel like when it comes to comparison, I just tell myself, I have to remind myself, this is why it's so important to, like, for me to have, like, these, like, very clear self-affirmations and very clear, like, very clear confidence within myself of who Jannelle is. Because once I'm able to lean into that, it's easier for me to cut out the noise,
Yeah.
When I, like, really took in, like, Jannelle, like, your body is your body, and like just the empowerment movement and seeing how it can change like my body and be strong. It no longer became about what I looked like, it became how I felt. And then when I felt good on the inside, I felt like I looked good on the outside. So it's all really about like looking inward. So I think when it comes to comparison, whether it comes to career, family, this whatever, it's all about looking inward, right? Like always looking within myself and reaffirming myself and just finding that confidence and anchor within myself, knowing what's for me is for me. My timeline is my timeline, and comparison is a thief of joy. So if I don't want to be happy, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna scroll for hours and compare. But if I want to be happy, I'm gonna put my mind on other things. I'm gonna focus on myself. I'm gonna look inward.
And I think that there is a healthy balance of also kind of like even scrolling and looking and you're like, like that's fun, or that looks cool, or this person is like 5 years ahead of me, but also being like very confident like in your space, because everyone has their season and like your timeline is just like your timeline, and not necessarily trying to compare yourself. I think that comes along with like being in solitude. It teaches you like your core values, who you actually are, the people you want around you, the things that you're willing to tolerate, the things that you're not going to tolerate also, and just like the confidence and the resilience. Because I think you and I were having this conversation before, and we were just saying how no one can tell you the story of your life better than you can tell yourself or explain the story of your life. And we seek so much validation externally when we have to give it to ourselves internally, right? Because at the end of the day, you can try to gain so much external validation, but people still will never get it because they don't know your story. They've never been there.
Thank you. So when we're looking at social media and we're doing that, like you said, it feels so good. This is how you know, like, you're like in a good space too. Because it's like, I genuinely feel so happy when I see my friends like killing it.
Same.
It's crazy. And I'm like, girl, you go ahead, girl.
And just hitting different milestones in life, right? And it's kind of like, well, like, what am I doing? You know, but also at the same time, I had to take a step back and be like, Erin, like, that will be you. You know what I mean? But also expressing gratitude. Like, let me express gratitude for the things that I do have right now, because I could be in a completely different place. And I think that once we start to express gratitude for where we are, it allows us to kind of like detach a little bit when we're scrolling on social media and not necessarily adding so much value onto like other people's lives. And we start to add value to our lives, you know, like now, okay, like this is what I'm bringing to the table. This is what I can discuss with my friend, you know, it's no longer just kind of like I'm listening to them and I'm like, man, like, what am I doing with my life? You're able to kind of like have that self-reflection and be like, oh, wow, like I'm so happy for them. But also I just know that that will be me someday. You know?
And then when you even think about that, I think we talked about this. For those people who those things are happening for. Right. A lot of times people talk about like relationships. That's a you know, pretty trendy one when it comes to like, oh, when is mine coming? But the truth is, you wouldn't want that partner. Because that partner that person has is good for them. You mean, and let's be honest, or maybe someone's buying a house, right? Well, my friend bought a house. When is my house coming? The rates are crazy. You know, this is what I want. But you probably wouldn't want that house because that house is good for them. You want your house that's good for you. You know? And the truth is, maybe if you wanted to buy a house, there is a trillion other houses you could buy. But you don't want to settle for less. You want to settle for more. Do you know what I mean? So it's always like, again, like what's for you is for you. And it's gonna come. And it's just so sweet when you think it like that. When you think like that. Because it's like everyone can get what belongs to them if we just don't compare as much. You know?
Like you said, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think too, sometimes the tools and resources that they have had, you know, in their life may not be the same tools and resources that you had in your life. So they may be a couple years ahead of you. And you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm just doing, you know, what I know with what I had at the end of the day. So like you're going through life, you know, you're trudging through life and you're kind of like, okay, like why am I not, you know, as far ahead of this person? But also take a look back as to where you came from sometimes, you know, or the things that you had experienced in your life, you know. That's to say everyone's journey is just like their journey, and to give yourself grace. Grace, you know, I feel like that term is, you know, is so used today, but it's very true because you have to give yourself grace. Because like I said, your narrative and your story is just that, right? And once you no longer subscribe to like other people's narratives of like who you are, you're kind of like, okay, this is a narrative that I grew up with, or my friend, I'm subscribing to like their narrative about me, or the narrative that I think I should be.
Say that.
It's so liberating. And you allow yourself to just become like so free.
It's so true. And honestly, it's easy to fall in line with the narrative.
It's so easy to fall in line with the narrative.
It's easy.
You sort of like brainwash yourself to think that this is true of me, you know, like, okay, I'm a failure. Hey, like I lost this job. Maybe I actually don't deserve good things. Maybe I actually don't deserve a really good job. You know, hey, I lost this partner. Maybe I actually don't deserve like, you know, the love and affection that I actually know that I deserve, but also at the same time, I'm tricking myself to think that like I don't deserve it. And that's where like the imposter syndrome comes in.
Because it's easy to be there. Like the world tells us to be there everywhere we turn. You're not enough. You're not this. You're not that. But it's that other side that it takes time and work. You know, I tell my clients, I'm like, I need you to journal. I know it's that's very entry level. I need you to do that.
Journaling has been my best friend.
And you guys and it allows you to explore yourself, you know, your thoughts. It actually think like what you said earlier. While you're talking to someone, you could think about you know, you come outside yourself and you think about what you're thinking about. You think about what you're talking about, you know. And but the work, I say that because it's like the work it takes to be able to like be in that place. It's not easy. It's not easy. So it's like, you could just fall in love with the narrative. Fall in line with that, or you could say, wait, I'm here for a reason. I'm not everyone around me. While I didn't have those resources, it doesn't mean I can't be my best self. You know, it reminds me of when I was in college. I remember when I got to college and I was like, in class, stressed out about class, but also stressed out about like, what am I going to eat tonight? And like, okay, or where, how am I going to pay for this? If I pay for this, I can't pay for that. You know, and it's crazy. And meanwhile, Susie next to me is like, I got these new, like, Abercrombie or
Yeah.
whatever, Urban,
Yeah.
whatever
Oh my gosh,
the
the days
thing
of Abercrombie
was,
was really hot.
you
Yeah.
know, and I was just like, wow, like, that's really cool. You know, but now looking back, I'm like, that's great. Good for you. You know, great.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being then, it can be hard when you're not at a space that you are like, okay with with
Yeah.
yourself and you're accepting of
Yeah.
your story,
Yeah.
you know.
It can
And
be hard.
it could be very hard, and that's why it's like, I again, the gracing is so important, and being kind to yourself, because that can come in waves,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so it's just really nice when you get to accept the fact that your race, your starting line is your race.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy you're saying this because it reminds me of the half marathon, right? When you're
Yeah.
sitting there, there's so many people there.
Full circle back to running.
So full circle,
Yeah.
because it's like, I remember thinking like, I'm just so proud of myself because I knew the work it took to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember looking around me. Like, to be honest, I don't remember not one face from that race. You know,
Yeah.
like, I probably remember this one girl when I was about to start crying because I thought I was going to walk. And she was
Mhm.
huffing and puffing. And I said,
Yeah.
if she's still doing it, I can do it too,
Yeah.
you know? But I don't remember the faces there when I'm standing there getting ready for the race. You know, I just remembered all the hard work that I put in today's the day for me to prove
You were
it.
locked in. You were
You
so
know?
focused.
And the
Yeah.
same way we should do with our lives.
Yeah.
You know, like, sure, people have different starting lines, but it's like, all the work it took for you to be here. My friend, a good friend of mine, she's recently, we've been friends for about 4 years, and she recently told me a little bit more about her story, and I was so blown away, because it's like, you know, with your friends, you're like, I can't wait till I get here in life or there in life. But then when she told me her story, I was like, girl, I had no idea that that was your starting line.
Yeah.
And her telling me that, I get emotional now because I'm like, girl, like, look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you. A lot of people come from families that are like, just have these really effed up situations.
Yeah.
You know, and I see them. I know, right? Give me some
Situations,
tissue.
I
But
know.
I see it, and I'm like, you know, you could have decided to stay with the narrative. You could
Yeah.
have said, this is where I come from, you know,
Mhm.
but you didn't. And yeah, we're in our 30s and we're still fighting to be somewhere we want to be. But girl, look at where you're at now.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Like,
Mhm.
if someone would have read your story when you were in 5th grade, they would be like, there's no way you're going to be here.
Yeah.
Statistics prove you're not going to be here.
Yeah.
You know? And I just think, like, focus on your starting line. Focus on your race starts.
Yeah.
And when you see that, be proud of yourself for all the hard work you do every day. Some people struggle with mental health conditions like chronic depression, and they get up every day and they try so hard, and they don't let that label stop them. You get what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah.
And I'm not saying that for others is, you know, I'm not belittling the battles for others. I'm just saying, like, you know, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
You know, and our race point, our starting line, whether you like grew up in poverty or anything like that, it's like that you still have. I mean, we know so many stories of people who started from the bottom, now we're here. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, again, back to comparison and running all that stuff. When you just, it's easy to fall in line with the narrative and easy to be frustrated, but man, when you think about all the resilience it takes to be you, like we were saying earlier, only you knows what it takes to be you. You know, it's really beautiful.
It's really beautiful. And I started to kind of like tear up a little bit too, like we said even before we started filming. This is really an emotional one. I think you know, not necessarily subscribing to, you know, someone's narrative of you, right? And once you kind of own that, you know, you own your power and you own like who you are and all the things that you have been through, I do think that there comes a point where, okay, you can no longer continue to blame external factors.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? You know, the saying that nothing changes if nothing changes.
Thank you.
That is, I think that is so true, where we might have been our own worst enemy. You know, there was a time in my life where I was doing the same stuff and expecting a different result, as they say.
Yes. Insanity, right?
Insanity. And I was like, Aaron, like, what are you doing? You know? And that was like, I think the light bulb went off in my head where it was like, I applied that to my life. Okay, like if you want a different result, you cannot continue to do the same exact thing. And I just think that that is definitely something that we have to take accountability for the things that we do in our lives.
Yes.
But at the same time, like for me, you know, we've all made mistakes for sure, but it's kind of like, can you self-reflect? And I also think that some things, yes, they happen to us, and those things are things that shape us for sure. But I do think it gets to a certain point where we can no longer blame others. We can acknowledge it, we can accept it, we can forgive, or we can forget. But I think we do still have to just sit down with ourselves and realize, like, where do I want to go? Because at the end of the day, if I'm still just doing the same thing and I keep saying to myself, like, I want to be this person, this is where I can be, I want to achieve this goal, but I'm not doing anything that aligns with who that person is. Like, if I, in 2024, me, like, who do I want to be in 2025, right? Like, we're filming this in 2025.
Right.
And I remember saying to myself, maybe like September, when we were together, you know, we were having such a deep conversation.
I know.
But we were talking and we're kind of like, you know, we only have 4 months left of 2024. When we get to the end of 2024, December 31st, will we be able to look back and say, okay, we started to plant the seeds to become the person that we know that we can be going into 2025? That we start to plant the seeds in 2024 to just kind of walk into 2025 gracefully, because we've already started to do the work. Like 2024 was definitely a pivotal year for me, and just like when it comes to overall change, like personal development and growth, and just hearing your story. And I think you're so resilient. You've been through so much, like, you know, just you and I having personal conversations, but also just the pivoting point for your career where I would be scared. Like, I look at you and like what you have done and, you know, where you are now, even with, you know, becoming a psycho instructor, like that's amazing. And just knowing your story, like, you know, going from wanting to just make a change and find your passion and find your purpose, and experiencing all the things that life threw at you, and you still coming out stronger on the other end, but also being able to realize like, hey, like, Aaron, I need to like do something different. You and I were talking and we were talking about content creation, you know, and I was like,
what did Beyonce say? She thought she was killing that shit. I told her go harder. I was like, thank you, Aaron. Damn. Okay, thank you.
But you know, like your own friends can see you.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yeah. You brought it out earlier. Like someone can look at you and be like, okay, like this is your purpose. You know, you're like, Aaron, I think you need to do this. Like maybe you should actually start that podcast. Yeah. Maybe you should actually write that novel. Yeah. Like for me, like for you, it was like start doing more social media content. Because you have like a niche there. There's something that you can offer to the world that no one else can. And it's really nice when you have, you know, that family member or that friend who is able to tell you that. Yes. Because sometimes the mental battle that we go through in our minds to actually realize that can be a lot. Because imposter syndrome, just like even with starting a podcast, like for me, do people even want to hear what I have to say? Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, at some point you just have to realize, okay, like I don't want to be in the same place anymore. Right. You know, but I also do know that I have a talent of like having, So
at some point you have to be like, I am that girl.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate to say it. I hate to bring it to you.
Oh no, like,
but I am that girl.
Have a little bit of the ego.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. Because, and especially when you come from a background that it's like your humbleness is like everything, and it's like, come on now. Let's cut it out. It's kind of exactly. You're like, girl, come on.
Okay, just stop. So I'm curious. Is it being humble, or is it kind of like shrinking ourselves or making ourselves feel small so other people can kind of like shine a little bit?
I think it's a little bit of both of that, you know, or humble. And I also think for me also, it was also like, I mean, still, right? I'm working on some things. And I'm just like, for a minute, I just wasn't making moves on it. Yeah. Just sitting on it. Yeah. For what? You know, and this is why I had a good friend of mine years ago, and he says to me, he said, you know, you need to reprogram your mind. He's like, that's what you need to do. You need to start listening to things that are going to literally tell you, like encourage you and see yourself differently, because and your opportunity differently. If you knew that you being a chatty Cathy will make you some money, you probably would have been doing this when you were in college, struggling to buy the next meal. Let's be honest, right? Yeah. And so I'm sitting here like, oh my God, the minute I made my next video, I think I got a partnership on something. It paid my rent. I was like, whoa, hold on. Hold on. Yeah. I'm still not where I should be. I'm not gonna lie. Everyone gonna look at my Instagram like, this girl don't do shit. No. No, but I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's a little bit of us just like, I don't know. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a little bit of laziness too. I just don't feel like I really subscribe to the laziness thing. I think there's always something subconsciously that is like behind that, because the truth is we're people, and our instincts is to survive. Yeah. And I feel like, some people thrive, but I just feel like if we knew that when I do X is going to equal out to like Z, like we would do the formula, you know, because we want to survive. It's our instincts. Yeah. But I don't know, imposter syndrome is really interesting. It's because right now I'm telling you, like, I think 2025, I don't know if it's because I'm a Virgo and everyone's like, Virgos, this is going to be your year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone is hoping that this is their year, but I
really feel that, because I really do feel like you have everything you need to be successful, right? In the moment. But I just think like I don't know, something about right now, I'm just like, so there's something inside me that's like bubbling up. It's almost about to burst.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, okay, let's just throw ourselves at it. But as far as the humble stuff, I just feel like, yeah, I don't know. Is it ego? Is it humble? I kind of like stroking my ego a little bit. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
And even if you don't necessarily have the
mhm.
things that you need to become successful, can you like take a hard look? Can you create the things to make you successful?
Absolutely.
And also, like, what
Yes.
is your definition of success? Right? Because
Exactly.
everyone's definition of success is completely different.
Hmm.
So, can you go out there if you see that, okay, maybe I like this person has this advantage, they have this tool, but what do I have at my disposal? Can
Right.
I create a lane for myself? Can I
Yeah.
be an advocate for myself? A lot of
Hmm.
times, it's literally us just being an advocate for
Hmm.
ourselves, and believing in our own potential.
Yes. I think it always goes back to like self care to me.
Yeah.
When you lean into the things that give you energy and you take care of yourself,
Yeah.
you're gonna
So much
grow.
that encompasses so much, like the self-care thing. I love it.
Everything. It's
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, when it comes to that, it's just, dang, I'm sitting here like, oh my God, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
good ass year.
It is
But
gonna
yeah,
be a
when
good
it
year.
comes to that, man, it's really the foundation.
It is the
It's the
foundation.
foundation of everything of your
Mm-hmm.
success. And I love that you said that. It was like, it's your what do you consider to be success?
Yeah.
And in what realms, right? We have like so many realms that socially, what's success to you? When it comes to like mentally, what's success to you?
Mm-hmm.
Physically, what's success to you? Like
Yeah.
financially. And then what are you content with?
Yeah.
You know but again, back to comparison, if you're going to do that all day, you're never going to be successful in any of those areas.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
through kind of like the things that, switching different careers and testing things out, then also like, with dabbling in like social media, like
Mm-hmm.
what would you say? And then also like just this year for 2025, because hearing you now, you have a different outlook on life, like when we were at the union game and we were just chatting, we were both kind of like in this place of trying to decide and trying to pivot and figure out
Yeah.
what we were going to do. Ending 2024 and going into 2025, has success, the definition of success, changed for you over the course of the 4 months ending the year and going into 2025?
I don't know that my definition of success for me has changed. um I just think my contentment
Hmm.
has changed. Like what do I feel I need to be content?
Yeah.
That has changed a little bit. Right now, I want to, I'm, like I said, I be saying, like, I'm in my soft girl era, I'm in
Yeah.
my calm era, my gentle era. I don't really chase like the happiness thing because we all have emotions, right? Um, I just like to be like solid and like feeling grounded and like such a Virgo for saying that, but just like just feeling like I'm just content with like in the sense of just I'm just here and I'm gonna
Hmm.
be stay I'm put like she
Yeah.
stay put like I just feel like grounded, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. A sense of groundedness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel good. For a while I was chasing. I'm like
Hmm.
like in the sense of like where am I going, like what am I doing, does this feel right, does this I feel okay, this feels right, okay, let me just grow here a little bit. I don't know, right now I just feel so good. I just
Yeah.
feel like this place is where I'm at.
Yeah. Like you
This is
can
me.
breathe,
I can
Yeah.
breathe, but I feel like I feel cozy.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, chatty Cathy,
Yeah.
this is what you do.
Where you're feeling cozy, you can breathe, and you're kind of like, okay, this feels good,
Well,
you know?
especially when you're not used to like being like there in that space where it's
Yeah.
like I'm used to like always wanting to grow, 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 grow. When does a tree stop growing?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's so much power in that,
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but now I feel okay. I guess it goes back to the whole ego, humble, this, that, and posture. I feel so good
Mhm.
being like, yeah, I think on my vision board is a public speaker up in here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I feel a podcast coming on for Nella.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
Period.
saying?
Yeah.
I feel yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I
I
love
love
that.
it so much. And it all comes together. Like when I'm talking to my clients, it just gives me so much energy. When I log on to
Mhm.
my portal, my clients come on, they talk, it gives me energy,
I
man.
love that for you. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that for me.
You
I
give
love that
me
for
energy
me.
too. Yeah. Even just
Thank
sitting here talking to you,
you.
like I have the energy, just to continue. Like we have
Yeah.
such good conversation,
Yeah.
and I just love hearing, like when you talk about the chat gaddy, like to me it's just like I just love hearing you talk and I love
Yeah.
hearing your insight.
Thank
And that's
you.
one of the things, I think it could be the writer in me, when I
Mm,
just love hearing someone's story, because it allows me to connect with them on such a deeper level,
yeah.
and it allows me to be able to see like that's what makes you you. So if I'm out with you and I see you respond a certain way, it's kind of like, okay, we have shared this story and you told me
Hmm.
about this experience, so that is what makes Jannelle. But also I love how grounded you are, as you mentioned earlier, but
Mm,
also like you do so much inner work for yourself. And I just want you to know that like it's so admirable too. And I hope that you continue to give yourself the flowers that you deserve. I'm always going to give them to you.
Thank you so much. I always think about that text. I had that screenshot. I'm like, oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yeah. And you're very resilient and also like you're very strong, and it's empowering to see that, you know. I think kind of switching to like the social media business aspect, like, you know, knowing who you are now and feeling grounded, right? And also like being very selective and intentional about the people and the you know the content that you're putting out to the world, and also the people that you're allowing into your life. Like how do you balance doing social media but also kind of like reserving a little bit for yourself, where like you know, you don't necessarily want to put this out, but also like you have to make content. Like, is there like a line that you sometimes don't want to cross?
Yeah, there's a big line. For some time before, like I remember like years ago, I would love posting my family all the time, my cousins, you know, nephews, aunts, uncles, parents. I don't do that anymore right now. It's just not a space that I care for the world to be involved in, because it's mine. And it gives me light and energy. And I also feel like doing my social media like business, I also have a different mentality when it comes to socials. Like, how does this bring value to people? When I make it about me, people are kind of like, yeah, I can relate to some extent, but like, I don't really care that you're out having ice cream with your cousins, you know?
Yeah.
But what people really do need is, okay, how can you tell me more about how I can transition and like still feel like you know, I'm not going crazy? You know, that brings value to people. And so for me, I'm shifting, and I've shifted the way I view social media. Do I be feeling cute and I do post myself? Yes, I do.
Yeah, of course.
Stop playing
You
with me.
always do. Yeah.
Thank you. But I do feel like there's value, and like I'm just thinking to myself, what is the value I'm posting right now? Where is there value for people? You know, because at the end of the day, too, you can make money off of that.
Yeah,
let's keep it 100.
Yeah.
And also, like when you do lifestyle stuff and you're sharing personal things because people can relate, like there's parts of my story that I'm not ready to share right now on the gram, on the platforms. Will I be one day? I definitely do, because why? That brings value to people. And I think there's other people that could really heal from things like that. But yeah, I just kind of, my boundaries are, I stick to my pillars, and like, I'm like, does that really go align? You know, there's partnerships that come to me. I had a brand that was like, hey, we have like this infused drink. I would love to give you X amount of money for you. And it didn't go, first of all, it wasn't my lifestyle. You know, I'm not out here drinking drinks like that. So I'm not, you know, so it's just boundaries that you have to put, the same way I would meet you, and that I'm not going to just share everything, right? Like if I just met you today, I put boundaries on what I want different people to know about me. But it's not like I'm hiding. It's just more like, I think it's really good when you could think you know somebody, but you really have no idea. True Life. Remember that MTV True Life? Think you know me, but you have no idea. You know, it's telling my age right now, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about? Remember that show? But it's like, you know, I think it's cool, and that's why I like to like interact on my stories and stuff, because it's like people love the, you know, authenticity of your personality and all that. But and, you know, they love to. I think it's cool when people feel like they can connect, but I also think it's really cool when you can say like, okay, I'm not sharing this part of me or that part, you know? So like families, something like that. Like I just don't really, before I would all the time, but just right now I just don't, you know? And I plan to keep growing that too. Like I want to get more and more selective with the things I share.
Yeah. I love that. Because like, when you look at you brought this out earlier, it's just you. Like you're just one single person. You're just one Jannelle, right? And then you look at the follower count, right? You can have like 5K, 10K. It's like it's just you, and then there's all those people, and it's kind of like people are going to tell you the content that they want to see. Like, oh, like why did you post that? It's kind of like, well, like this is authentic to me. This is what I want to post, you know. And it's like you want to listen a little bit because you kind of want to make sure that you're putting out content that, you know, gets enough attention. But also at the same time is like, I don't want to just put something out that's not me, you know, that's not authentic.
You know, it's hard too when like, I think too, like when looking at him being like, when you're so talented, no, but like, you know, like I do think like just because you can do it all doesn't mean you should do it all. Do you mean? Like, but that's for me. Some people, they want to go do it, you know, like share that. That's great. Like if I wanted to be like this funny girl, I could probably be the funny girl on Instagram. I am a little funny sometimes, you know. But
you are.
you know, but I want to do like full-time funny. I like do the little skits, you know. But that's not just, I don't want to do that, you know. If I wanted to be like the serious, like, let me give you advice, like maybe I could probably do that, you know, or the let me tell you, I want to be a baddie. Don't make me not be I'm an undercover baddie right now.
Yeah.
You know, no, but
No, you're like not undercover. You're
not
like front cover.
You know, no, front cover, not undercover. No, but do you know what I'm saying? It's
W
like,
Mac.
but I just think like, there's certain things I just don't care to make it front and center.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. Kind of, you can. Sometimes you don't have to do everything. I heard this quote. It was like, you can't be everything that you want, but you can be everything that you are. So it's like, if you know that you have like a lane and you have like, I don't know, the skill to be able to do one particular thing, you can put out one particular content. You have this particular niche. Why not go ahead and put that out?
Yeah.
Maybe the other thing doesn't work for you, but this particular thing that you know is your power, like you know what is your superpower, you know how you can connect with your audience and get that engagement, like stick to that, but then kind of like venture out and just test things out.
Yes.
Like it's all trial and error.
It is.
It is all trial and error. And I love the fact that you dabble in a little bit of everything, and then you always come back to like the center and the core of like actually who you are. Like your motivational messages are amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's whatever gives you energy, right? Like for me. But again, it's like, what's your goal with socials?
Yeah.
If you want to have fun, that's your diary. That's great. Because it was for me at one point. It was so fun.
Yeah.
But
I think that's so authentic to who you are, though.
I like to let people in on the journey.
Yeah.
Now I'm also like in a place, and I was talking to my friend this. I was like, I'm in a place where I want to move more into like the authoritative voice. They talk about that with content creation and stuff. But then you have, like I said, like I'm dabbing to the whole podcast thing. So I want to, but I just think as long as it's like, if it gets you energy. Now, I'm not gonna post something that's gonna stress me out.
Yeah.
Like for years to come.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I also feel like you're not gonna tell me nothing about me that I didn't already tell you.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So true. Yeah, I feel that.
So, yeah.
I'm curious. What do you want your followers to take away from seeing your content? Like when they come to your page, like what is the resonating message that you want them to be like, wow, like I go to Lots of Nella and I feel this way.
Yeah. I want my audience, specifically women, right? Women 19 to 30. I want them to know it's okay to be confident. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to wake up and say, damn, I'm popping.
Yeah.
I'm this is great. What I got is enough. Ultimately, for everyone, I want them to know and believe, like Toni Morrison said, you are your best thing. That's like, you're your best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I feel, I mean, I'm not a woman, but I definitely feel that.
No,
I still feel it. I still feel it. Like I just feel so much empowerment there, It's so funny because there's this one TikTok video that you posted and I keep getting notifications because I had commented and I guess everyone liked that one comment. And I think the comment was like alignment is key.
Yeah.
But like,
yes, I remember.
Yeah. And it's so interesting just to see that one particular comment that people like. But you putting out that comment, as a friend, I noticed, and like I'm like the big cheerleader, and it's like I see the content that you're putting out, and it's kind of like, wow, this is so motivational and inspires me to get up and get out there, do my morning meditation before I start my day. Just know that I can conquer whatever it is that I want to conquer, and I just want to say thank you for that. And I know that there are other women, and there are just people in general, just other human beings who are coming to your page, and they're like, wow, like I can come here for a laugh. I can come here for wisdom. I can come here for a little kick in the butt to get out there and do what I need to do. And it's just so many things that you encompass as a human being. And I love that for you because it just shows like your healing journey. It shows, doing the work internally and also living in your purpose and then living in your passion, right? Like I think that you do a really good job at displaying that. And it's something that like, and my friends, I always like to give them their flowers. Sometimes maybe a little bit too much, but I just love pouring into my friends and investing into them. And I just want to, like it constantly inspires me.
Thank you.
This has been a really, really great conversation. And I really appreciate you, like, just joining me. What's next for you? Like, what does 2025 look like for you? I know we've talked and like, I'm really, really proud of like, you doing therapy and empowering, young teenage girls and women to just go after what it is that they want in life and providing them the tools and resources to just feel strong and capable. What is on the horizon for you? And like, what do you want to share with people?
Thank you. Next, I just finished my vision board. Next, my focus this next year is definitely like becoming a psycho instructor.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I'm so excited about and working on. But my little potty is next, my podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait. I know you mentioned it. Yeah, I wanted you to announce it. I was like, hopefully that is definitely something. Like, say it, please. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because originally I was thinking about calling my podcast "Morning Girls Glow," just to like embody the whole like morning transition, all that stuff. But because like earlier, not just women, my podcast. Wow, I didn't share this with anyone. This is great. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, everybody, guess what? I haven't got my logo yet, but hold on. Right? Hello. It's really called Your Best Thing podcast. So I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You know, it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait for you to share that with the world. It's like, it's interesting when you find your passion, you find your purpose, and you have a project. It becomes like your baby.
Yes.
You know, it's like your passion baby, your passion project, and like you invest so much time and energy. And another quote, I can't tell you where I heard it. I can't remember it right now, but I heard this quote where it was like, once you realize what your passion and your purpose in life is, you don't want to be doing anything that takes you away from that, or some like any other second or any other minute that's not fulfilling that. So once you realize what your purpose is in life and your passion, all you want to do is that. You know, sometimes I'm at like 9 to 5 and I'm just kind of like, man, I wish, like, I can't wait to get to this weekend because I have the opportunity to chat with like you or another guest, or, you know, when I'm writing, it's like, I cannot wait to go home because I just want to, you know, journal.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
And I love you. Thank you so much for having me here today. Because I remember we were talking, you're like, this is what I'm doing. Look, one thing about you, you're going to execute.
Yeah.
Okay.
It took a lot to get here. Yeah.
But we're here.
I know we're still here.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's so amazing.
Thank you, Jannelle. Thank you. And I really appreciate you being here today. This was a really good conversation. Thank you just for like the vulnerability, you know, and just like your transparency and your candidness, and also just like your thoughts and your insight on so many different topics, right? I think that a lot of people will, you know, really resonate with your message that you left today. And one last thing I want to ask you, if you could go back and tell your younger self anything, what would you say?
Why would you make me cry at the last minute?
We have tissues right there. Yeah.
Again, this is something I've been saying recently. I feel like if I could go back, I always talk about my 7th grade self, you know, because I feel like that was like a really hard year for me when I was young. I would just tell her, like, girl, you don't even know how self-sufficient, how confident and beautiful and loved you're going to be, and how much of that you have to give to other people.
Yeah.
So I'm just really proud of all the versions of me, you know. For a long time I like resented versions of me.
Yeah.
And seriously, and I think back about even like, you know, I just so much. So if I could look back and tell my younger self anything, is like, girl, you got this, and you are your best self. Like your best thing. You are your best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I just want you to know that your younger self is so proud of you right now. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I be telling my friends real quick. I be like, I was out during New Year's. I was like, someone tell my 7th grade self that she is hot. Tell the bullies that she is hot.
She was watching from above or like from the side, like, okay, girl, I see you.
Damn, girl.
Wait, I know.
Okay, I see you, girl.
Oh my gosh.
And she's a runner. I know.
She be crossing those finish lines. Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much. Straight balls.
Thank you.
Straight balls. Straight balls. Thank you, Jannelle.
I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of A Squared Conversation. Until next time, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And we will see you later.